Welcome, everyone, to the Kits Coaching Podcast, Improvement Simplified. My name is Kate Alcock, and this is Jack Kitts, and we are so excited to be...
How's it going, everyone?
...to be doing our very first podcast. Jack, how are you today?
Pretty good. How about you?
Oh, so excited. So good. Oh, man. It's been a long journey to get this first one.
Long time coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Anyway, so topic of this podcast is going to be very simple. What got each of us into training, and what is Kits Coaching? We think that this is a really good opportunity for all of those out there to get to know us a little bit and really understand why we do what we do, and ultimately what it is that we do. So I'm going to give it over to Jack, and he's going to start talking about his experience in training, what got him into training, everything about his life regarding training, programming, coaching, everything.
Yeah.
So Jack, take it away.
I was more overweight this is when I was in high school, kind of sophomore year high school. I was pretty overweight. I was probably like 210 pounds ish, maybe 205. I was a lot shorter than I am now. Right now I'm about 6 foot. Back then I was probably 5'8". So I was pretty. I was like categorically obese, like according to my doctor.
Right.
My BMI was high enough to the point where I was obese. So, he had been telling me for some years now about losing weight, and I was a kid, and so I just said okay. And but I decided that I wanted to lose weight, and I wasn't gonna run. I hated running, so that's fine. So I started lifting, because that was the kind of exercise that I wanted to do. Your doctor tells you about exercise and that kind of thing, and I always just kind of liked the idea of it, of like doing squats and being strong, and having muscle. I just kind of thought that was cool, and it wasn't running, and so that was all I was really looking for.
And so running, your distaste for running, did that come from? So what sports did you play growing up? Where did that?
Yeah, growing up I played baseball. I wasn't good. I got cut from my freshman high school team and my sophomore, so I got cut from the freshman team, and I kept like playing, and then I got cut again sophomore year. So I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. So I started playing golf. I get cut sophomore year from baseball. I told my grandpa, we talk about it, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with baseball. I'm going to play golf now. He played golf every day, so I started going with him every day to the Olympic Club to play golf, and I learned how to play golf essentially that year. And then junior year, I was on the golf team for my high school, and then that's kind of when I was starting lifting and I started kind of losing the weight. Losing the weight junior year. And that continued more into senior year. Junior year to senior year, I was basically exclusively weight training. Like, the second golf season ended, I had, progressively gotten more and more into it. I remember, as the golf season went on, into weight training. And when the season ended, I really started to ramp up my training and my weight loss as well. I was watching guys, on YouTube, like Matt Ogus, Christian Guzman, the first guy that I watched on YouTube, his name was Elliot Hulse. Some people, way back in the day, honestly, of YouTube fitness, but he was really good for me because he was pretty motivational, and that really helped me kind of get started, to be honest. And so yeah, I was training. I remember I went on my senior. Everyone goes on a senior trip when you're done in high school, and we went to Hawaii, and I had pretty bad body dysmorphia, or whatever you want to call it, body image issues at that time. I still thought I was pretty fat, even though I wasn't. At that point I was a little taller, and I was going to that trip I was 170, 175 pounds by that point. And I remember I thought I was still overweight and everything. But I remember the girls had a name for me that trip, and it was Hot Bod Jack.
Hot Bod Jack.
I was very excited when I heard that.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that
is awesome.
Yeah,
Jack, high school
heartthrob. Little high point in my high school.
For all those ladies out there, just Jack is the one who got away. Anyway.
And then I met some of the people listening might know Nico. I met Nico going at like orientation. We immediately kind of connected and became pretty good friends. And I did my orientation kind of earlier, and I literally remember before going into Santa Clara and everything, like the Mr. Olympia competition, the bodybuilding competition was a few weeks before the start of school. We had already gone through orientation though, so I had Nico's contact information, and I remember we started texting each other before that during the Mr. Olympia competition, like, oh, who's gonna win, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he might remember. I'm pretty sure that was the year that Kai Green left like a day before, like he dropped out of the competition. That was the one, if I remember correctly. That was how that went. But that was fun, and then. And so that at that point I was pretty into the just kind of I definitely am. I wasn't at where I was now currently with my level of understanding of training and nutrition and everything, but I kind of knew what I was doing. Like the people that would come to the gym with me, like I was the guy kind of leading the workout or something like that.
And you would say that you were, at this point, you were passionate about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my question for you is, when did it become, I need to lose weight? When did it change from I need to lose weight, I need to make sure that I don't have a premature death, right? Mm-hmm. To I'm passionate about this, I'm doing this almost for its own sake.
Yeah.
What was that transition like, and when did that occur?
It was probably around when I started, honestly, probably around when I started to like coach people more. Like when I started helping people and I kind of saw like a lot of the things that I knew would help people, and I saw the results they made. Like, I know it's cheesy, but like I really liked that. I liked helping other people. That was cool. And then I did like a powerlifting meet freshman year. That was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun training heavy. So that training process, like learning how to program yourself to add more weight to the bar, like for a long time, I became obsessed with like that fact, like how do you do that, and everything about that, everything, not only like training wise, but like nutrition wise, sleep wise, recovery wise, like supplemental wise, everything. Like I was really into that, into understanding how to get better, and I wanted to learn. Like I was very aware of all the things that I didn't know, and because I started to kind of look at the kind of level of knowledge that the people where I was getting my information had, like, and these people that I was getting my information from, like they were like the athletes, like they were like they were doing it themselves, and they would always reference like, oh, these scientific studies, this and that, and you when they would talk about that, you kind of understood like that was the quote unquote gold standard, like the science, right? Like the science was going to work, and so I started to get really into. It was honestly through Instagram and YouTube mainly. Instagram was probably the bigger one, but these Instagram pages of the actual researchers and professors and people associated with actually doing the research and studying it and analyzing it, and like what they were saying about it. And instead, so what I was trying to do was cut out that middleman. From where I was getting my information, instead of going to Matt Ogus, who would tell me what X researcher said about this study, I would just look at the study. Right. I would just look at the researcher and figure out what he said. And so that, I think, helped me really kind of clarify the majority of my quote unquote like philosophy and kind of methodology of training, and a lot of my opinions and the information that I knew.
So who was? You talked about coaching and how that sparked your passion. Mm-hmm. Who was the first person you coached, or where was the first instance where you helped somebody and you knew that this is something that you may want to do at some point?
I mean, the first person I ever did was like in high school. Like me and my buddies would go to the gym, and like I was the one that would like kind of
as you
lead
said,
the workout or whatever. But it was probably Nico was the first guy. So to be honest, like so more recently, I haven't been as on top of it as I should have been, and I got lazy and just kind of complacent. And it was actually you that kind of came along, because I've updated a lot of my thoughts in more recent years of like college, like kind of last year and sophomore year. I really kind of went through a total new change of the way I thought about training and everything. Mm-hmm. And so I had these ideas in my head that I really deeply kind of just knew would work. I really thought that they were the way to do it, and you were the person that really helped corroborate that for me. So I really appreciate you listening and you being that that example.
I'm honored.
That because I didn't do that myself. That's my fault. But
I remember sitting at this table specifically that we are sitting at right now and asking you these questions and having. And you kind of led on these a little bit at a time, and I remember I was just in such confusion about what you were saying, because it was radically different. Because I hadn't done what you said. You said you wanted to go right to the source, and I trusted anything that the personalities on Instagram were saying. And I hadn't reached that point yet, and you were the one who showed me that.
Yeah, and there's good ones on YouTube, and there's Instagram. Like there's good ones. I tell some people that, but like the majority of them aren't.
Right.
The vast majority of them aren't. So.
And yeah, absolutely, and I completely agree, and I think we all have. And that's not to say what those people are doing is invaluable, because it's so valuable, right? Like they're getting people moving, and. So just to go back a little bit, your passion for training has obviously led you to this point, and we're starting kids coaching, and this is something that we're really excited about.
Yeah.
So I guess my final question of your piece here would be, where do you want to take this going forward? What do you envision? Yeah. What do you envision your role being in the future for other people?
Yeah. I want to. I really like doing this coaching thing. I really like doing that, and I just want to make this bigger. I want to help more people. I think that our message, like improvement simplified. Like I've really been kind of Kate, you know this. Like I've really been saying that like a lot of the things that people think are difficult aren't. And can really be broken down into a few simple things that you need to pay attention to, and the majority of the other stuff is just noise. And so yeah, I think that's probably the main message that I have for people. And yeah, and I have some other goals. Like I want to build like kind of a community. Like I don't know if some people have seen like the Instagrams. Like I want I think that's nice. Like I want people to be helping people using the right information, using the right tools, and yeah. So far, so good.
That's great. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think it's my turn now.
Yeah. It's your turn.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that, Jack. That was amazing. So where do I start? I come from an incredibly active family. My mother was a personal trainer way back in the day. My dad was a baseball player in college for a year or two.
College?
He pitched at Long Beach State his freshman year, and then he got hurt. And so then he transferred to San Jose State, where he found my mother. They met, got married some years later, popped out 2 kids, me being the second one. And here we are. So anyway, my parents were always incredibly active people. They worked out in the gyms with bodybuilders, and they would see people that did not look like regular people, right? They're in LA at the Gold's Gym or the Venice Beach. They're going to the Venice beaches, and they're seeing these people, and they're working out there, and they're looking like these people, right? My parents were all into the fitness. And so naturally they gave it to their children, which I'm so fortunate and so grateful for. So I always, and my brother as well, we were always very competitive, but I really took to the training. So my parents would often have us, come to the gym with them. And I just loved moving the machines and moving the weight on the machines. I loved doing the push-ups that my dad would say to do, the crunches. I would love looking at my dad or looking at my mom doing an exercise, and I would do it. And my mom at this point was training for triathlons and running races, and she still does. She actually does marathons now, which, she's over 50 years old, and she's absolutely in amazing shape, and she's just such a role model for me too. Just got to shout that out there. Love you, Mom. But anyway, so I always loved going to the Parker Rec Center and seeing my mom finish the triathlon and seeing, doing all the fitness, and I wanted to do it. I remember, seeing people in the gym doing these things, and I wanted to do it. And, people always said, oh, well, you're young, you can't lift weights, right? It's bad for you. And I was always like, oh, darn, I wanted to do it. So I just loved training my whole life. I loved going in there. I loved sports too. I played hockey my whole life. In high school I played hockey, rugby, football, and golf. I was always so passionate about sports. I loved going and shooting hoops with my brother, my friends, going out in the front yard, throwing the football with my dad and my brother, and shooting pucks with Carter, my brother. Doing anything, doing anything that was activity. And I, unlike you, loved running. Yeah. And I got it from my mom, I'd say. You're lucky, dude. I just loved it. I remember conditioning for football, we'd have to do these things called gassers, which is you run 50 yards back, down and back 3 times. And this was just a torturous experience. And there was something about it, right? Everybody else is saying, man, these suck. And I, for some reason, just liked it, right? It was just something I was like, well, maybe I can go faster next time, right? And so going to you, I just wanted to get better. Yeah. So actually starting about my sophomore year in high school, sophomore or junior year, I started to train at an athletic club, and that's when training kind of changed, right? So I had this deep passion and that I just loved, this thing that I loved my whole life up until this point. And then I started training, and for about 3 or 4 years there, it became kind of miserable. I was in the gym every day, doing an amazing amount of sets, doing all of the super sets and the monster sets and the whatever the hell other names they come up with for these sets. I was doing these workouts that were cool and new because it was what I was seeing on Instagram. It was what my trainer was telling me to do. And
did you ever do a 5x5? You have to put a 5x5 when you talk about a 5x5, by the way.
I don't know if I've ever done a 5x5. A 5x5. I don't know if I ever did an A 5x5.
I do a 5x5 followed by a bunch of other stuff.
No, I don't think I ever did that. I just did I was doing a whole bunch of reps. I was doing everything, right? And it was basically a competition for how many things I could do in an hour, right, with this trainer. And my trainer was, and I've told you this before, but it started to become upsetting to go to the gym, and that was something that I was really sad about. I was not having fun lifting the weight.
How long did that last?
Oh man, it was probably 2 years where it was truly unfun, where I was saying this is not fun, but I knew it was good for me, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get better, and this is what I'm gonna do. So
how much better did you get in those 2 years? Do you remember?
Oh man, so this is an interesting thing. If you were to look at, I didn't track. I didn't write down anything that I was doing other than the workouts, right? Weights I only sporadically wrote down what those were.
Okay.
I would say that my improvement was maybe 10 to 15 pounds in many, many years, in 3 to 5 years.
And is that based on the volume or based on a 1RM?
Based off of
like the amount you were doing like during the day, like the working sets.
So the working sets, it was based on the volume. Yeah. Okay. I didn't do a 1RM for a really long time. We did it in high school with football, but I don't even remember what those numbers were. It was something that I remember. I was always told to devalue the 1RM. You know, and that was anyway. So I started to really dislike it, and I was upset with training, and my my trainer would make little quips and things like, oh man, is that all you can do? And I was, oh man, that point, there was one point actually where it was right after I was doing decline bench press for a set of 12, and I had just had to do chest. I'd take a giant burly ball and throw it against a wall for a set of 20, and then come in and he puts a plate on my back and says, do 12 5-count descend, 5-count ascend pull-ups. So no rest in between. And I was exhausted. And he goes, oh man, is that all you can do? And I remember specifically, I had tears in my eyes, and I was just I didn't say a thing for the rest of the workout. I was so upset. I drove home and I was crying because I was so upset because I was doing all of these reps and all of this stuff. Instagram is telling me, do this, I'm seeing all these things. Yeah. And it wasn't working. Yeah. I wasn't seeing results. Yeah. I was in good shape, no doubt. Yeah. But I wasn't seeing results. Yeah. And so I continued to do the same thing into college. And then I was so blessed to have met Jack Kitts. Came over to this house one day after a rugby practice or something, and we just kind of got to talking about it. And I asked questions throughout a week or two, and ultimately...
so the first thing, it was someone said something about stretching, and then I think it was John, or maybe Nick or Liam, and they were like, "Oh, don't get Jack started on stretching."
Oh, that's right.
Wasn't that it?
That's right.
I'm pretty sure that was
actually, yeah, that's right. So some of those other names that he mentioned are just housemates of ours. Yeah. So Jack, and so I had always kind of disliked stretching. Just I didn't like it. It was something that it was just unpleasant.
This will be a whole nother episode.
This will be a whole nother episode. Oh my goodness. But he kind of validated me. He's like, yeah, I don't know if stretching is, the best thing for an athlete. And I said, yes, thank you. You validated me. This is what I've always thought. So but anyway, so that was the point. And then after that, I started asking more questions. I started to receive answers from him, and he just was so knowledgeable, and there were so many things, and he had all these incredible sources and these scientific articles and stuff that was good stuff. And it wasn't just the guy who pulls a scientific article off of the internet just because it looks good, but because he read it and he'd done the research, he'd done the mental fitness to make sure that this is a good source. And so that's what I admired. And ultimately, I got started on an LP, on a linear progression, and I was very nervous to start. Admittedly, if you remember, because it was so much less volume than I was accustomed to. Oh, yeah. And I said, "Am I going to get fat? What about bicep curls? What about ab exercises?" And he walked me off the ledge with all of them and said, "I promise you." And I've improved drastically since that point, and I'm just so thankful for that. So that's kind of my story in terms of fitness. So, transitioning as we close our first ever podcast, which I am having so much fun doing. What I want people to know, Jack, is what is Kitts coaching, right? And this doesn't have to be some complicated thing because it's not complicated. Because what we do is we improve. We simplify improvement, right? So, what is Kitts coaching? What are you gonna get by getting involved with Kitts coaching?
So Kitts coaching is a coaching service. It's not so some of the other services that people might know are like you order a program from someone, maybe it's 8 weeks, maybe it's 16 or 12, whatever it is, and then that's all you get. This isn't that. Like I said, when I was a freshman, I didn't know a whole lot about training, but one of the things I realized is if I just wrote a program, that person was just going to come back to me in however X many weeks I wrote the program for and say, okay, what do I do now? Right? So the problem isn't with the programs. The problem with really is the education. It's the what's next. What I want to do is what we're doing here is this is a coaching service. We will be your fitness coach in kind of weight training and nutrition to help you reach whatever fitness goals you have. That may be strength related. Maybe you want to squat a certain weight, certain super heavy or deadlift, or maybe you want to get your bench up. Maybe you want to add more muscle to your frame, or cut fat off. You want, better body composition. We do all of that. Do you have anything to add?
No, and I think that's really good. Just actually maybe have just a little thing. I think that's something that really is what differentiates us. We want to empower
Yes.
the individual.
Yes.
Because that arrangement that you just mentioned is very contrary to the empowerment that we're speaking of. It does
Yes.
not build the self-efficacy.
Yes.
It builds a dependence on those people for
Yes.
programming.
Yes.
And that's right. That's what they do to make money. There's
Yes.
nothing necessarily wrong with it.
You need it,
but
yeah.
we want to hopefully,
Yes.
and that's not to say that, there's not going to be some sort of, cost involved, but we
Right.
eventually want you to graduate
Yes.
from needing somebody
Absolutely.
to program. And if you don't, we would be happy to continue to do it.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
what I think is the main thing that's going to differentiate us from everyone else. Is
those
we build
people
the
on
individual.
Instagram that are providing just a 12-week program, they know you're going to need a new program.
Right.
They're not idiots. They've trained 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
they're smart guys. Granted, maybe we don't agree with their training philosophy, but like, they know what they're doing. They're just going to take your money. Like, we don't want you to be with Kids Coaching forever. We want to get you in. We want to teach you what you need to know, and then we want to make you be able to do it yourself.
Right.
Because we don't want to have to deal. I don't know. We don't want to have to deal with you for a long time.
Right.
You guys will be able, with the knowledge, the tools we give you, to really do this for yourself and do a good job. And like I said, a lot of it's more simple. You get into it once you really become a client of ours, and there's people you can talk to. You look us up on Instagram.
Right. At Kids Coaching on
Yep.
Instagram. Me, Cade_Kids Coaching
Yep.
on Instagram. There are plenty of other peoples, if you look up Kids Coaching, who
Yeah.
are going to be involved.
Yeah.
And, we want you to be with us as long as you need or as long as you want, and we will absolutely have you.
Yeah.
But we just want to give you the tools so that you can improve.
I just want to shout out Chase_Kids Coaching.
Of course.
Yeah, Chase is also helping us with that. If you know him, Chase Larshad, he's helping us with this.
Of course.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Chase. He's not with us right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure he will join us for,
Yeah.
for
Oh, yeah.
the many other podcasts we will do.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for our first podcast.
That wraps it up.
I think that went really well, and I'm so glad that we could share our experiences and what Kids Coaching is with all of you. And so with that, Jack, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. And everybody, remember, get better.